We're back in Mountain Lake Terrace with our show sponsor, Red Onion Burgers, and the owner, Sean Richards. Sean, I'm like a lot of people these days. I've got a busy schedule. I barely have time to find food when I'm home. And sometimes on the weekends, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to watch football. You guys are making it easy for us with Uber Eats. Tell me a little bit about that program.
It's easy to do with Uber Eats. You can get Red Onion Burgers delivered to your home. All you got to do is get on your app, order your food. It'll be delivered within 15 to 20 minutes, and voila, you're watching football.
Easy enough. Enjoy food from the comfort of your couch. Red Onion Burgers.
Welcome to This Week in High School Sports. I'm Teresa Whipple here with Steve Willits, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. 2018, it's already here.
I can't believe we're already there.
Like
I mean, it's been quite a year already. Just a lot of sports going on, basketball. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the program, right?
Yeah, we don't exactly ease into the new calendar year. It's winter break is over, and we're right back into things. We jump right back into things.
And we dive back into it. We were trying to decide what segues we'd use
Swimming
for our
puns.
next segment because it is swimming. So tell us who we have coming up.
Yeah, swimming season is jumping right back into things again. They took a little bit of time off. The last swimming meets that involved high school teams, I think were like December 14th. Teams are getting right back into the pool this week. And so we brought two of the Meadowdale swimmers in for an interview to talk Maverick swimming and how their season's going so far. So here are Max and Sean from the Meadowdale Mavericks. Winter break is over, which means the Edmonds School District swimmers are ready to hit the pool one more time. And with us right now, two swimmers from the Meadowdale Mavericks. We have Sean Nguyenle, who is a senior, and Max Khaperman, who is a junior. Guys, first of all, thank you for coming in today. I'm always curious about swimming backgrounds, too, as far as what age you started and when you really became competitive swimmers. Sean, maybe we'll start with you. How long have you been involved with swimming?
I've been swimming since I was 6 years old.
6 years old. And you were competitive even at 6, or were
Yeah.
you? Okay. And Max, for you, was it same experience, or did you get involved a little later?
I started when I was 11, and I was on a summer league swim team. So.
And I think a lot of folks think of swimming as maybe just something that people kind of explore on their own. They go to local swimming pools or go out to the beach or whatever. And as far as it being competitive, I don't think people always necessarily grasp just how much time and effort goes into it. You both swim for a team called the Stingrays also, so you're not just swimming for your school, but you're swimming for a club team. Sean, how much time are you putting in each week during the school year and during this particular time of season into swimming?
So during the school year, we have about 2 hours of practice for high school, and then an additional 2 to 3 hours of club practice.
Wow, so it's a long day for you then.
Yeah.
And Max, during the winter break, did you get it? I know you last swam competitively for the school team on December 14th, so you do have that 4-week window where you're not really swimming competitively for Meadowdale, but I know that you're still involved with your club team. Mm-hmm. Did you guys take a little bit of time to rest at all, or was it pretty much just full board practice and everything else during that break?
I took a little bit of rest, but maybe just like a few days off. But I went right back into it, and I swam, every day and during winter break.
And as far as the club team is concerned, how big of a club is it? Are you mandatorily needing to go to practice every day? Can you, being that you're on the high school team, can you take a little bit of downtime if you need it? How active are you with that team, Sean?
Attendance isn't mandatory. We can take downtime if we need it for like school or homework or anything. That's fine.
Very nice. Talk about the season a little bit so far. Maybe some of the goals that you have going into this year. Max, let's maybe first of all backtrack to where you've been so far on the team. Tell me a little bit about your background at the Meadowdale level and in terms of districts, in terms of where you're trying to get to right now. What have you done in the past there?
I've qualified for districts since freshman year in the 1500 freestyle. I didn't place high. I didn't place in the A or B relay freshman or sophomore year. My goal this year, because I've been working a lot and I've been dropping time. My goal this year is to win districts and place in the A finals at state.
And do you have a particular time that you're looking to get to right now? And if so, how easy is it to shave off time during the year itself?
Well, it's easy and hard personally. It's like from a personal perspective. It's how hard you work, and I've been working really hard, and I've been wanting this certain time for a really long time, and so I'm kind of like expecting it. I'm like waiting for it to happen. So.
Are you close right now?
Yeah.
Okay. How close are you? Just out of curiosity.
So I want to drop a whole nother second, and personally for me, I think that's gonna be hard and easy. It's like right in the middle because I've dropped a second before on the 1500 freestyle. So I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem for me personally.
Right. And as far as you mentioned the freestyle, do you do other events as well, or is
Yeah.
that kind of what other events are you participating in?
I'm going to start working on the 200 IM as well. And I on some days because I have like shoulder problems, on some days I'll do 100 fly. That's about it.
Speaking of the 200 IM, Sean, you know a thing or two about that event, right? You've done fairly well over the past few years. Talk a little bit about that particular event and what you've done at districts and at state.
So at districts, freshman year I was second. At state freshman year I was 13th. And then when I went again next year as a sophomore, I went up, so I was happy about that. I got first at districts as a sophomore and ninth at state. So I was pretty happy.
Ninth at state in the IM, which is the individual medley. For those who don't know, what exactly is the medley and how many events does it involve? How many?
So the medley is consisting of all 4 strokes. It starts with butterfly, then backstroke, then breaststroke, and then freestyle.
And do you have one particular that you're stronger in than others, or that you enjoy more than the others?
I enjoy butterfly and breaststroke most.
What is it about the medley that's appealing? I would think for a lot of folks, if they could specialize in one thing, they would do it. Do you enjoy being able to have that variety, and what does that mean?
Yeah, I like that variety because I'm strong at butterfly and breaststroke. Those are like my strong points in the race, and also having good turns, which I enjoy doing in underwaters, is what makes it appealing to me.
And Max, for you, you mentioned that you've done a lot of freestyle. So for somebody who's trying to work towards the medley, how difficult is that? I mean, are there certain strokes that maybe you're better at than others, and are you still trying to figure a couple of them out? Or?
For sure. Like, I'm terrible at breaststroke. Like, I don't move in breaststroke. My only powerful strokes are fly and freestyle, and then if I would do 200 IM, I would do terrible in the backstroke and breaststroke, and that's my weakness, and that's what I've been trying to work on at practice for the past month or so. And that's I want to open up my variety. I don't want to just stay at 1500 freestyle because everybody does that, and it's so many people in those 2 certain events. I don't have just by like if you're racing somebody and by like tenth of a second, everybody's so close to each other like that.
Sure.
I want to open up my variety to,
When you're trying to learn how to compete it with different strokes and in different competitions, how vital is coaching in all of this? And Sean, maybe I'll start with you. Tell me a little bit about some of the coaches you have, maybe both at Meadowdale and with your club team, and just what they've meant to you.
Coaching is pretty significant. There's a lot of good advice they can give you, a lot of things that they might see above water that you don't necessarily know about for your stroke technique. So having good coaches has helped me so much for my swimming career.
Any coaches in particular that you'd?
So at club, I've had Coach Ben. He's the coach that I've always looked up to all of my years of club swimming, and he's always been there.
Very nice. And tell me a little bit about Coach Katie for the who coaches Meadowdale and Linwood simultaneously. So what's that experience been like, Max?
it's been good. She's an amazing coach. She actually knows what she's doing, and she like sees everything. Like when you're doing a certain, for example, freestyle. If your anchor isn't good enough, or if you're pulling out too far to the side, she'll see that, and then she'll describe to you, what you're doing wrong, and she'll tell you what you should be doing, how fast you should be going. She puts in so many like details, and it's just amazing. And she really tries to help everybody, not just certain people, but she's trying to help everybody get better. And she's telling everybody like what they're doing wrong, right? And, they're trying to just help them get better.
And we touched upon this a minute ago too, but the fact that Linwood and Meadowdale do have a team that works together, what is that experience like for you guys? And Max, maybe I'll start with you on that. Obviously, half of your team or part of your team you see on a daily basis at school. The other part comes from a different location, and then you see them in the pool. Is it one big, happy, cohesive team, or how does that work?
Yes, it's one big. I personally consider them as family, like Meadowdale. I consider them as one whole team. I don't see them as another team. I've been with them since freshman year, and I've seen them since freshman year. When we're competing in the water, I don't think we're actually competing. I think we're just, swimming against our own team.
So for instance, when you defeated Linwood earlier this year, I mean, did it kind of feel bittersweet? Did it not really feel like a victory, or?
It didn't. It just felt like it didn't really feel like a victory personally, because like racing your own team.
Yeah.
You know.
It's more about the times and just getting
Yeah.
a good workout in, so to speak. Sean, for you, it's a little different in the sense that you're a full-time Running Start student, so you don't actually attend school at Meadowdale, correct?
Yeah.
So now is it, does swimming give you an opportunity, or at least swimming at the high school level, give you a chance to feel a little more connected with the school? Is it certainly kind of bridge that gap for you, knowing that you're not at school during the day?
Yeah, it makes me feel a little bit better to get to know everyone from both Meadowdale and Linwood since I'm not at the school.
So again, we talked about it a few moments ago. Districts coming up later on this month, state coming up in February. Ultimately, I would think that is the goal for both of you. What can you do between now and then to get better and to get ready for state? Max, is it just a matter of getting in the pool every day and just staying consistent, or is there anything in particular you can do between now and then to get better?
Just swim. Go to high school and club. That's probably the only way to get better and improve my endurance, because my endurance isn't the best, and I need to keep going to club and practice high school to just fix these certain things so I can be prepared for districts and state.
And for you, Sean, I know we talked about earlier, you want to get up that podium a little further, but you're a senior now, so is this your last go-around? Is swimming something that's going to be in your future, or is this it for you?
Yeah, I think this might be the end for me, so I want to make sure I do really well, and I want to stay on top of all of my swimming goals. Yeah.
So big week coming up. You guys are over at Kamiak High School on Tuesday swimming against Mariner, and then you're at Marysville-Pilchuck High School on Thursday going up against Marysville-Pilchuck and Marysville-Getchell. And I'm always curious about this, Max, because I know most high schools these days don't have swimming pools at the school. Your home pool, if you will, is the Linwood pool, and a lot of the other events tend to take place at aquatic centers and whatnot. What are the high school pools like anymore? Are they well maintained? Is it a fun place to swim, or would you rather swim at a high school or a community pool?
Well, I'd probably rather swim at a community pool, because the Kamiak pool, I mean, yes, it's a good pool, but they don't have good blocks, and Marysville-Getchell pool is it's not the greatest.
Yeah, the Pilchuck, yeah, it's probably a little bit older, so
Yeah.
makes sense. And do you have a favorite place you enjoy swimming, Sean? Let's ask you. Or is it all swimming to you? Is it all?
I do enjoy the aquatic center down at Federal Way more. That's like the main competitive pool for all the big competitions. And I also do like Kamiak a bit. It's not as bad as other pools because it can be hard to maintain a lot of those other pools.
Sure. Max, favorite place to swim?
King County Aquatic Center and Snohomish Aquatic Center.
Okay, very nice. Well, very good, because I guess districts will take place in Snohomish and the state championships will be at Federal Way. So it's good that you like swimming at both of those locations. As far as the future, Sean, again, you're a senior. What would you like to do? I know chemistry is a big part of your life. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I'm planning to study chemistry, possibly at the University of Washington, and right now I'm working on finishing my associate's degree in chemistry at the community college.
Good for you. And then Max, you've got another year left, but have you already started thinking about college? And is swimming maybe an opportunity or an option for you later on down the road?
Yes, I want to swim more. Like, I want to swim college, maybe even outside of college, go further on. I don't want to be finished yet. I'm not done yet. I love the sport.
And I can't let this one get away either, Max. When I asked for you guys to give me some background information, you mentioned in the past you've played piano, you've played football, you've danced.
Yeah.
So a wide variety of things. Do you find that some of those have even maybe helped you in the swimming pool at all? Any sense of maybe just in the sense of competing, or maybe even muscle groups that you use for both?
Football has a little help in that with, like, muscle wise. It's put muscle on my body that I've wanted, and so that's probably another reason why I actually move in the water. Piano, yeah, I stopped. It's something good to know, like in the future, like you can just sit down and play. I mean, that's something I won't forget. Dancing, it was between dancing, swimming, and football, and dancing helped me get super flexible, and so that's a big group in swimming as well. And I chose swimming because that's something that really grabbed my attention and grabbed my heart, and that's something that I would really love doing, swimming.
We should mention too, you've done a variety of different types of dancing. Do you have a favorite?
I like, it's kind of between tango and breakdance.
Two very different forms of dancing, by the way.
I think I like breakdancing a lot more.
There you go.
Sure.
Swimming's a little bit safer, so for now he'll spend his time in the pool. Sean, Max, again, congratulations on a great season so far. Best of luck not only this week, but also, again, the Edmonds School District meet is coming up on January 27th, February 9th and 10th districts, and then if these two are both fortunate enough, and they seem to be on their way at this point, hopefully we'll see them at state on February 16th and 17th. Guys, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Well, I'd say that being in a nice warm pool sounds really good right about now.
Maybe minus the chlorine and other things
Yeah,
that go
well,
along
that
with it.
too.
Yeah, always fun to talk to the swimmers and get their perspective on things. They don't always get as much love in the press, so to speak, so we always enjoy talking to them and to find out what motivates them and makes them tick. And big season for them too. So state tournaments not too far away, and we'll continue to cover the swimmers throughout the rest of the winter sports season.
Very good, and I am very excited about this next segment because you and I have been talking for a while
We have.
about this, and I'm just thrilled that we got these ladies into the studio, so tell us more.
We're going to talk wrestling. We're going to talk girls wrestling, something that's relatively new still. We're talking about an Edmonds-Woodway team that 2 years ago had one female wrestler. They now have 17. So we decided it was time to bring some of these girls into the studio and to talk about their wrestling careers. And so a very fun conversation coming up. Charlotte and Vatoria from Edmonds-Woodway talking girls wrestling. Here on This Week in High School Sports, we tend to talk about wrestling quite a bit during the winter. It's no longer just a boys' sport, though. It's for the girls, too, now. And we've got two young ladies who participate for the Edmonds-Woodway wrestling team. Charlotte Torio, who is a junior, and Vatoria Keys, who is a sophomore. Ladies, thanks for joining us. And I'm going to start with you, Charlotte, because 2 years ago, your freshman year, you were the only girl wrestler at Edmonds-Woodway. There's 17 girls on the roster right now. Talk a little bit about what that's been like, just to see that transition and to see how far wrestling's come. You're kind of a trailblazer, if you will. You kind of started this whole thing. How much has it meant to you to see the girls' roster expand?
Oh, it means a lot. I love all the girls on the team. We all connect and bond with each other. Yeah, it feels great that it's growing.
And you're no longer the only one on the team. So it's and because so many times in sports, I think we get we get influenced at a young age to want to participate in a sport because we see other people doing it. Vatoria, perhaps for you, you didn't have that opportunity when you were a young girl, when you were just little and growing up. You didn't see a lot of other girl wrestlers. So how did you become a wrestler then?
There was a unit in my PE class in the 8th grade where they had us try out wrestling, and so I did it, and I thought it was really cool. So I asked my parents if I could do it, and they were like, "Sure." So.
And at that point, were you thinking about high school wrestling? I mean, obviously when you were in the 8th grade, there wasn't really a high school wrestling program for girls. I mean, was it something you kind of aspired to do, or was it just kind of something you fell into once you got to the school?
It was just kind of something I fell into. I didn't really think about high school at all. I was just like, oh, cool, this is fun. And then, yeah.
And Charlotte, for you, similar experience? How did you get involved with wrestling?
Same way Vatoria did. There was a PE unit, and immediately I fell in love with the sport.
Very nice. As far as we mentioned a minute ago, you're kind of the trailblazer, if you will. Do you find that younger girls and other girls at the school are kind of looking to you to aspire them to get going in it? Because, again, there weren't a lot of opportunities before. Vatoria, do you ever have conversations with other girls who start asking you questions now, knowing that maybe they're interested as well, and maybe that'll perhaps help the growth of girls wrestling that much more?
Yeah, definitely. There's girls that will come up to me and be like, "Hey, I didn't even know there was a girls wrestling team. That's so cool." You kind of have to push them into it. You have to be like, "Hey, come on out and join." And they'll be like, "Oh, cool. I didn't even know about this." So yeah.
And what about you, Charlotte? Any younger girls ever talking to you, or maybe parents of younger girls? Have they had a chance to ask you about wrestling, and has it inspired them a little bit?
Yeah. I've had a few other girls come up to me and tell me that, oh, that's really cool, and that they're interested in doing it because, they never thought that girls...
There was a possibility in the
yeah.
past. Very
Yeah.
nice. How accepting are the boys? Vatoria, I mean, obviously it's kind of a new world for them too. They're not used to this either. When you were in middle school, obviously, you were probably wrestling more or less just against boys, right? And how have they been in this whole transition?
Well, in middle school, it was kind of different. I know that one time when I went to the mat and I had to wrestle this guy, they would congratulate each other because I was a girl. They already expected me to win before I even started to wrestle him. But in high school, it's it's different. Like they're a lot more accepting, I think, because they kind of have to deal with it now.
Well, yeah, I can imagine. Well, Charlotte, for you, just 2 years ago, when you're the only girl wrestling, you have to wrestle the boys, and now you actually have girls to wrestle with. How have the guys been towards you?
They've been very supportive and accepting with girls in the team, and yeah.
And I've got to think too, with 17 girls wrestling at the school, you don't always have necessarily perfect matchups for weight classes. So maybe where the boys can wrestle each other in similar weights, you have to kind of hop around a little bit. Has that been different, and how easy is that as an adjustment? And maybe Charlotte, that's a better question for you. You're one of the smaller wrestlers, so do you have to sometimes wrestle up against bigger wrestlers?
Yes. During practices, though, not like in actual matches.
But so it gets you that much more prepared, I guess, when you do wrestle the girls at your own weight.
Yeah.
So as far as tournaments and what you're able to do, I would think that once upon a time it maybe wasn't as easy to find wrestling tournaments where you found girls that were the same weight, or maybe that were as many participants, whereas now I think they're becoming bigger and bigger. You just went to a tournament called the Everett Scramble recently, this past week. Tell me a little bit about that, Vatoria. Do you get to see girls that you start to recognize over time now because of the fact that more girls are coming out, or is it still harder to kind of find some of those matches at times?
It's definitely come a long way. Like last year, I think there was like maybe 3 or 4 girls in my weight class, but this year, like I know there's maybe 3 per like school, and it's just a growing weight class and sport, and it's really cool. Yeah.
What's it like for you now, too? But Charlotte, we should ask, because now you get to go to your own tournaments, whereas for the longest time you weren't necessarily able to find those. Is it kind of nice to go to the all-girl tournaments now?
Yeah. Yeah, now that girls wrestling is expanding and growing, we find more girls wrestling, so more girls that are more in our weight class. We see some new girls and some old girls that we've met in the past.
Should mention, too, these two did a very nice job at the Everett Scramble. I know, Charlotte, you 1 win, 1 loss, correct? Mm-hmm. And tell me about the win a little bit. How did you do?
It was a pretty tough match, but yeah, I pinned her.
Got a pin, very nice. And Vatoria, you went undefeated for the Scramble, right? Tell me about your 2 matches.
Well, I was able to get pins the whole time. Like it definitely helped that we're now able to like get more technique in during practices now. So I'm able to work I was able to work new moves that I hadn't tried before. Now that like Coach Ray is telling me on the sidelines.
We should mention, too, for her efforts, we're going to give Vatoria the Girls Player of the Week honors from Action Jackson Plumbing. So she gets a shirt, 2-0, 2 pins. Got to give you that. So we're going to go ahead and hand that shirt over to you so you can enjoy that. And Vatoria, you just briefly mentioned Coach Ray a minute ago. Tell me a little bit about Terry Ray, and maybe we'll start with you, Charlotte, and what he's meant to the development of this team and to the program.
We're just very thankful to have him on the team. He's very supportive and encouraging to all girls on the team. He's a really great coach. We're really thankful for him.
And Vatoria, you've had a lot of success at the school so far. Tell me a little bit about Coach Ray and what he's meant to you.
He like single-handedly has been like the reason I stayed in wrestling, because last year high school wrestling is like very different from middle school wrestling. It's way harder. It's a bigger struggle. But Coach Ray, he's like always there. He's always like encouraging us to stay there, to keep working, to like hustle hard, and he's just a very motivational. He's a big part of the girls wrestling program, and I don't think a lot of the girls would still be wrestling if he wasn't there.
Very nice. Hey, it's coming into that time of the year, too, where we start to think about postseason a little bit. Districts coming up, and then hopefully the Tacoma Dome Mat Classic, the state championships coming up in mid-February. Tori, you got a little bit of a taste of that last year. You made it through districts and regionals and made it to the Tacoma Dome. What is that experience like when you're wrestling at the state championships and you're in the Tacoma Dome where there's 24 mats and wrestling matches going on in each mat at the exact same time with all the lights? Is it a little overwhelming when you first get there?
It's very intimidating. It was something I was totally new to, because it was like my first experience with like a bunch of wrestlers who were like, they all wrestled really hard to get there, and I was just super nervous. It was a really new experience to me.
And quite the accomplishment to get there as a freshman. Do you think that the experience of having that from last year will carry over into this year? Will it make you a little bit more comfortable if you're able to get back there?
Definitely. I have way more confidence this year. I've set my goals really high. So I think this year it's definitely it's going to turn out a little better for me.
And Charlotte, you're hoping that Tori's, if she's able to get there, she's not making that trip alone this year, right? You've got some goals to get there as well. How are you feeling about your season so far and where you're going?
I feel very confident, and yeah, I have a goal to place in state this year or before I graduate.
So a lot of big expectations and a lot of tournaments coming up in the next month or so. We should mention you're both fairly active in other things at school as well. I know both of you play instruments, which I'm always intrigued by when you're able to combine sports and music. So tell us a little bit about that. Charlotte, I understand you play violin at your church. How long have you been playing violin?
I've been playing violin for 6 years now. I used to play for the orchestra at the high school, but now I just play at my own time for fun.
So between school and wrestling and are you able to get a lot of violin practice in, or how does that work?
Yeah, I get a great combination of all three. Yeah.
You have to be pretty structured and disciplined to do that, right?
Yeah.
Very nice. And Vatoria, you French horn now. You used to play the trumpet, but you switched over. What brought that transition on?
Well, we had a French horn player in our band last year, but then she switched over to bass, and so we didn't have one. And I was like, I've always really kind of liked French horn, so I was like, I'll try it out. And then it ended up working really well for me, so I was like, okay, I'll just stick with this.
And tell me a little bit about what you want to do with the French horn over the next year or two.
Right now I'm practicing for solo and ensemble, which we need to get into Wind Symphony, which is kind of the next tier for band. So my goal is to kind of be first chair in Wind Symphony next year. So
Exciting times for you then. You're keeping very busy. And we should mention too, as far as the music is concerned and everything else, Vatoria, you're also a track athlete. You have some lofty goals, one of which is the discus. Who has the school record in the discus right now?
my sister,
Your
Bernice.
sister Vernice, who was there last year, who took second in state. You made it to state last year. Tell me a little bit about your expectations and your goals for the spring.
This year I'm really hoping to I didn't make the state. I like kind of right before state. This year I'm really hoping that I make it to state. I'm hoping to set my PR at least like 130 feet, which is way higher than mine right now. So I'm hoping that I have to practice really hard and get my form down, and yeah.
And is Vernice hoping that at some point you'll be able to break her record? Is she supportive of her little sister, or does she want to keep that record for a while?
She's like, I want it on the wall for at least one more year, but you still need to be state champion this year. And I'm like, okay. So she has really high expectations for me, but she doesn't want me to break that record just yet.
Okay, not quite yet, but hopefully a state title is in the works there. So again, wrestling, music, track, school, two young ladies who are keeping very busy and doing their school proud. Charlotte, Tori, thank you both very much for coming in, and best of luck throughout the school year, but also for hopefully maybe a trip to the Matt Classic in February.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I was speaking with Terry Ray, the girls' coach, who happened to come with the girls and was watching us do the taping, and he mentioned to me that Washington State actually is one of the top 3 states in the country for girls wrestling right now, along with California and Texas.
And outstanding, and only growing too, for that matter.
Yeah.
We should point out when you get to Matt Classic, which is the state championships, at the boys level, they have state championships for all 6 classifications of schools based on their size. Girls are wrestling under one umbrella right now in one classification, and Terry said we're really not that far off on having multiple classifications, to the point where at some point the girls will each wrestle for their own individual classification. So it's a sport that's growing, and it's growing at a rapid rate, and couldn't be happier to see that. Wonderful for them, and 2 very good representatives of the sport in those 2 young ladies that came in. And Terry's done an outstanding job at Edmonds-Woodway.
Yeah, he really does, and we hope to have him in sometime separately just to talk about the program.
We have to, indeed. And talk about the program and just talk about the sport and its growth.
Yeah.
And we'll hopefully maybe do that as we get closer to the state tournament and closer to Matt Classic, which again comes up in middle of February. So
Great.
looking forward to that one.
Yeah, me too. All right, so we had some sports action over the break and some things last week. Talk more about that.
We did. I guess we should, while we're on the topic of wrestling, a few different tournaments taking place throughout the area. Gut Chuck took place over in, I guess it was Kitsap, at the Kitsap Sun Pavilion this past weekend. That was an invitational with some of the top wrestlers throughout the West Coast, really. And one particular wrestler we want to mention, and we seem to mention him every week at this point, Salou Fateh took 4th place in that tournament at the 145-pound classification, so congratulations to him. And then we had the Everett Classic, in which 32 teams showed up. taking place in Everett. And a couple of the individuals who did well there, we had Ariel Zarai. Hopefully we got his name right. Ariel finished first place out of Meadowdale in the 138-pound category. Baylor Denninger, the freshman at Edmonds-Woodway, took third place in the 106-pound category. We forgot to mention Elias Lynch also taking first place for Meadowdale in the 152-pound category. And then Ben Don from Meadowdale took fifth in the 170 pounds. So nice job by those Meadowdale wrestlers as well as Baylor and the others that took place in that particular tournament.
Great, and I'm sure you'll be talking about basketball, right?
We're going to talk about basketball too. Two different teams that we want to showcase, and two teams we've mentioned also a few times on the show already this year. On the girls' side of things, Edmonds-Woodway girls defeating Linwood. I think it was 81-57. First time that Edmonds-Woodway, the ladies have beaten Linwood in almost 8 years.
Yeah.
And this is an Edmonds-Woodway program that's put together some very strong, formidable teams over the years, but Linwood's just been that dominant at the state level, and Edmonds-Woodway finally able to break through. I know Adrian Poling had 26 points in that game. And by the way, while we're at it, Player of the Week honors. A couple weeks ago, we gave one to Ingrid Fosberg, but we didn't have a picture to put up. We now have that as well to provide you with, since we're talking Edmonds-Woodway girls. So
Yeah.
There's a picture of Ingrid. And since we're talking Player of the Week, we already gave out one this week to Vatoria over at Edmonds-Woodway on the wrestling program. We're going to give the boys award this week to Kyrie Armstead of Mount Lake Terrace. Kyrie, not a bad outing against Arlington. 23 points, 10 rebounds, 5 block shots, had a couple steals. They were trailing Arlington by, I think it was 7 points going into the fourth quarter, and then they went on a 13-0 run to take the victory. Mount Lake Terrace is 10-1 on the year so far basketball-wise, and Kyrie's been a huge part of that. So we're going to give Mr. Armstead our Action Jackson Plumbing Boys Player of the Week honors as well. So congratulations, and Kyrie, shirt is coming your way.
Well deserved. Oh, that's great. Can hardly wait to see some of the results of those teams over the next few weeks, since we have some strong performances.
Strong performances from not only those teams but others as well.
Yeah.
The Edmonds-Woodway boys, no doubt, will be in the running for a district spot at the playoffs. Meadowdale boys seem to be coming along and gelling at the right time. So, and the Linwood girls, even though they lost to Edmonds-Woodway, that's still a very strong team, and we expect to see them playing somewhere during the postseason as well. So a lot of basketball, wrestling, and other sports to talk about over the next few weeks as we start to wrap up and get into the second half of the regular season, and then we go to a tournament postseason play. It should be fun.
We'll be in playoffs before we know it.
It's right around the corner.
All right. Well, good. Thank you very much. We will be back again next week. Hope you have a great week, everybody.